All right.
Welcome to the Beyond the Mat podcast, an in-depth talk show discussing exclusively WWE topics.
My name's Rick Boogs, and I came to rock with the Beyond the Mat podcast that is beyond the M-A-T-T podcast. Ah!
All right, it's Friday night, June 17th, 2022. Beyond the Mat podcast here to review the Smackdown episode from tonight. Good episode overall. We had a surprise return at the end. And, throughout the show, I felt it was pretty good. It was an emotionally charged evening, in my opinion. Matches were pretty good. I have a guest here with me tonight. Brad's on the line. How you doing, Brad?
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me.
All right, Brad, what did you think of the Tonight Show overall?
Man, it was filled with a lot of ups and downs, a lot of emotional roller coaster type of shit. I mean, this was, just a very interesting episode where we got certain things that I think, enjoyed, like Brock coming back and getting to see Roman fight live and that great, sort of Riddle-esque match that he has so often. But it also disappointed in certain ways. It was a very roller coaster-ish night.
Yeah, I think they really tugged at the emotions, and that's what they were going for. They've got us really, really behind the babyface Riddle, and just made him so likable and so loved by the fans. They got everybody in that arena chanting, "Bro." They had that. That's a nice arena there. You could tell, by the way, when they showed Sami Zayn trying to get in the Roman Reigns locker room, you could see the nice doors there. That was a nice arena. That's a big arena there, the Target Center. And, that's where the Minnesota Timberwolves play. So, that's a nice size arena. They had it set up for a big crowd tonight. And that crowd was rocking for Riddle. They wanted him to win that. At home, I wanted him to win. I didn't care about how big of a champion Roman Reigns was or any of that. I wanted Riddle to win that match because of how much I liked him and how emotionally invested I had become in him and everything. His promos were so emotional and everything was for Randy and all this. And it just, he's so exciting in the ring. His in-ring work is so great. He earned it. And I also thought that, given the Cody injury, given the Orton surgery injury, that he may be out the rest of the year, and that change, and given the change and in the company executive structure right now, I thought that maybe they would deliver something that was completely out of nowhere, which would be a Riddle win. But that wasn't what came out of nowhere. What came out of nowhere was Brock Lesnar. But the thing is, I did not see Riddle losing clean that way. I felt bad that Riddle lost clean. If he would have lost by some kind of schmuckery with the Usos hitting him with the belt or interfering, or him having the match won and then the Usos getting involved, or a DQ happening and him winning the match by DQ but not winning the title, I just didn't see a clean win. Riddle sitting on the side, looking distraught, and then being completely overshadowed by Brock Lesnar coming in and decimating the entire bloodline with F5s to everybody. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, man, it was upset. Like, that was very, very upsetting. And the thing is, like, we always talk about, you want to have new stars, you want to have up and comers, and it's going to have to be an up and comer that's going to be the person to take down Roman. Honestly, there's no one that fits that description, in my opinion, better than Riddle right now. I know Riddle's not 25 years old. I know he's 30, 35 or 36 or whatever he is, but still, in terms of where he's at in his career, he's rising right now. And the thing is, he would have been that perfect person to have beaten Roman. Now, like you said, if it was some chicanery that led to a loss, that would have been fine. I mean, honestly, it really would have been fine because it gives Riddle something to continue to shoot for and a way to kind of finesse his way back into this. I just don't understand why you put the stipulation on it with Paul Heyman if Riddle's going to lose just clean like that. I don't understand why you knock him down a few pegs just to end this match. I really do not understand it, man.
Yeah, I don't really get it either. I don't get why you just completely put a stop to Riddle's Roman Reigns story, although without Orton, it takes away part of it. And I also think that, you know, a big aspect of all this is that you have a lot of top baby faces hurt, and it just screws everything up. So you bring Lesnar back here. You got Reigns working part-time with both titles. You have Lesnar now as a credible person that can end the undisputed double champion that's not even there half the time. And he's the one who started it. So he's the perfect person to end it. Now, the problem I have with it is how they're going to get there. If they put him in Money in the Bank or something like that, then that just wipes out Seth Rollins and McIntyre and Sheamus and whoever else they put in there. And with Riddle, I can see this coming back, even though he wasn't now allowed to challenge Roman Reigns for his undisputed WWE championship. He's not going to have that for that much longer. They're going to strip him of that by means of Brock Lesnar beating him or whoever it is, Drew McIntyre. I don't care. Somebody's going to beat him pretty soon and beat him for at least one of those title belts. And probably the Money in the Bank winner may beat him. He needs to be, though, in this situation with Lesnar, not responding to a Money in the Bank cash in. It needs to be Lesnar going straight after the title for whatever reason. They can make up a reason at this point. He never got a rematch after WrestleMania, and he should have one. And that's all there is to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just don't know if that's the direction we're going to go. I think the direction we're going to go is Brock gets in Money in the Bank. He wants a shot at Roman, and, you know, he either wins it. Actually, he would have to win it. I can't imagine him not winning it. So maybe that's too predictable. I don't know. Maybe
if
that's
he's in the Money in the Bank match, it's a total. It might as well just be a 5-minute match, and he just F5s everybody and climbs the ladder. I mean,
yeah, we've seen this recently, right? We saw this with the Elimination Chamber. Did anyone?
We saw it with the Royal Rumble. We've seen it his whole career, and nobody can beat him. He's completely unstoppable unless you low blow him or something. I guess they could low blow him with a ladder, but he's not gonna. They're gonna. If they put him in and he's already won the Money in the Bank before. That's the reason why I want to see somebody new win the Money in the Bank. I want to see a different kind of cash in than I've ever seen. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see somebody do it at WrestleMania when both guys are beating the hell down. And no, I want to see a cool cash in that hasn't been done that way before. Or honestly, I'd be fine with the typical classic babyface cash in of I'm going to do this right now and tell you when the match is. I'm not going to surprise you. If they did it that way, fine. And that's probably how Lesnar would probably do it. You know, he came out there tonight, F5'd him. I just think that if Lesnar was going to win it as a babyface, the Money in the Bank, he would cash it in just whenever he wants to have a title match and have a legitimate match and win it, because that's would fit his character. But, you know, back to Riddle for a second, you know, where do you think he goes after this? Do you think he goes away for a little bit just to take, you know, some of his time off? Do you think that he gets into another feud? Do you think he eventually gets his shot back at Roman Reigns?
Oh, man. I mean, I thought that the only thing that they could do if he lost this match cleanly was give him Money in the Bank. You know, give him the shot to then cash in on Roman in one of the belts, thinking that, you know, he would probably lose unfairly, but even if he lost fairly, you know, that money now, I think that possibility is now gone if Brock's going to be in Money in the Bank. Let's kind of hope he's not, you know, in Money in the Bank, Brock. But I cannot tell you, man, and I know a lot of people watching. I saw there was 9:52 p.m. We're on the East Coast. There was 8 minutes left in the show. Roman had the microphone. He had just won the match. I really thought we were about to hear Randy Orton's music, not Brock Lesnar's music. There was so many Randy references throughout this show, start to finish. It must have happened 10 to 15 times. Roman was talking about Randy in the match as they went to commercial break into the camera. I really thought that was going to be who was going to come out at the end of that match. And it was really shocking that it was just Brock Lesnar. I'm happy Brock is back, but I don't know if I wanted it in this exact fashion. You know what I mean?
Right. It was cool to have him back, but, in this way, I don't think that's what we wanted. But, that's the emotion. They were going for the emotion of us, getting totally, totally behind Riddle. And so, overjoyed for Riddle. And, oh, my God, Riddle could win. And then when he loses, we're so upset and so disappointed, almost sad. And then, bang, Lesnar comes out. And it's like an oh, shit moment. And he just wipes out the whole scene there and dishes out the F5s. So that's what they were going for. Whether that's your cup of tea or not, for me, I just would have liked to see something. I could have called Riddle losing this match from 10 million miles away, but losing it clean that way. And honestly, I could even lay the match out for you. I was telling people before the match, it's going to be Riddle hot early. Riddle's going to hit his whole signature move set. And then we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to come back with Roman Reigns in control. Roman Reigns is going to do some heel dominance. Then we're going to get a babyface comeback after a rear chin lock or some kind of headlock by Roman Reigns. And then we're going to get a series of exchanges of finishing moves and false finishes. And then it's going to be a DQ finish. That was what I thought. And I thought that was going to protect Riddle a little bit. And, obviously, Reigns retains, but then leave the door open for Riddle and Reigns to have a rematch without any kind of bullshit. And now, I do think Riddle's still a candidate for Money in the Bank. Look at who else is in the match. Zayn and Nakamura next week in a qualifying match. I mean, so you have Nakamura beating Zayn probably. Then you have Rollins, McIntyre, and Sheamus. And then you throw Lesnar in there. I mean, it's not an even playing field. I just don't think that the match would suffer having Lesnar in there. I mean, it'd be interesting having the monster in there, just as we said with Omos, but in a completely different way, quite frankly and honestly. But, Lesnar in there, it's just, he doesn't need to be in the Money in the Bank to get, there's other ways they can get him a title shot here.
Maybe this was just a comeback and a stare down by Lesnar and an F5 or 2 or 3. And maybe he's gone for a couple months now. Honestly, maybe that was what it was. Maybe this has nothing to do with right now what's going on. Maybe this is just hey, keep it in the back of your mind. This guy could be back at any minute, any time. I kind of hope that's what it is.
Or I'll stick that cane right up your ass.
I don't know. Brock Lesnar sounds like he wants to be around for a while. But I did not hear this from anybody, man. I did not see this coming at all. I mean, I don't know about you.
The only thing you had was Minnesota. Maybe it should have been in someone's mind, like, hey, this is, where he wrestled in college. This is where, Brock is, pseudo from, or actually he's actually from South Dakota, correct?
I was getting backstage reports throughout the show and nobody mentioned Brock Lesnar being there. And they'll say that this person's there, or that person from AEW's there, or this person's there tonight. This ex-wrestler's there, but they won't be on the run sheet, so I know they have nothing to do with the show. But there's always all kinds of people. Nobody said Brock Lesnar. That was completely kept under wraps, as far as I know. Maybe Sean Ross Sapp or something. Yeah.
Where in the fuck is Charlotte Flair? Honestly, she's accompanying her husband now backstage at AEW. Okay, can she get back on the show a little bit? I mean, can she have a qualifying match for Money in the Bank? She's not a champion now. I mean, can we get her involved in something?
Did we need her? I'm not complaining that much without her. I'm happy to see Aaliyah and Shotzi next week. Shotzi's going to beat Aaliyah. Shotzi's going to qualify. There's no reason to have Aaliyah in that match. They need another heel in it. And then I think Becky Lynch will get in the match, and she'll probably win the match. Let's go through what happened tonight, though, overall. Our first match tonight was the Last Laugh match. Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin. In this match, Corbin was in control. He was wringing the neck on the rope there. It was back and forth to start out. Madcap Moss hit a flying shoulder charge off the second rope. Madcap gained control eventually with some quick dodges and a clothesline. He hit a really nice looking fallaway slam on Corbin. I thought that was impressive given Corbin's size. Corbin countered Moss eventually, threw Madcap to the ringside area. On the apron now, Corbin clotheslined Moss into the ring. Top rope, Moss hit a sunset flip, got 2 out of it. Then he ran the rope, dodges Corbin a couple times, but then ran right into a deep 6 for 2. Corbin chokeslammed Madcap after he slipped out of a powerbomb attempt. They fight ringside a little bit. Moss sent into the post by Corbin, and then Corbin sent into the announce table, gets to the 9 count, but Corbin beats the count, runs right into the Hangman's neckbreaker punchline finish by Madcap Moss, who hits it actually twice and gets the 1, 2, 3. After the match, we have McAfee and Corbin. In an exchange, Corbin's pissed off at McAfee for talking crap on him all the time. Then McAfee gets on the mic and asks Minnesota to laugh him out of the building. What do you think about this match?
Yeah, well, look, in the aftermath, when Madcap took the microphone and started laughing at Corbin, I understand it's a last laugh match. I get it. It just came across as very heelish, honestly. Like it almost like didn't make you like, oh wow, Madcap's this great guy, whatever. It kind of gave you this, I don't know, like this yucky feeling about Madcap to me. I didn't like that, where he got on the mic and just started laughing at him. And then obviously I think McAfee and Corbin is like your SummerSlam match, probably.
I mean, do you really think that there's a program there, or do you think that was just a way for McAfee to get everybody to laugh him out of the building? That's what I kind of thought that was. I agree on the Madcap Moss stuff. I enjoyed the match just fine. I thought, Madcap's whole thing in the ring is that he's really quick. He can dodge the big guy's stuff and he can counter a lot of things, but don't sleep on his power. He can hit a fallaway slam on a big motherfucker like Corbin. But at the end of the day, the laughing like a hyena is not a good look. It's not even necessarily that it's heelish. It's just that it's annoying and it's stupid and it's not something that you do as a babyface. So I guess by default, you could say it's heelish. But at the end of the day, the McAfee and Corbin stuff felt like it took way too long. I guess they did it for a reason so that they could have the New Day do their entrance and laugh at him on their way down to the ring. But even the New Day ended up being out there for 15 minutes before their match started with Jinder Mahal and Shanky. You got anything else on Madcap Moss? Now, this looks like the end of this feud. Moss is now 3-0 against Corbin. As far as Cole said, that this match is their last match. So, Corbin has said publicly, he was on a podcast earlier this week, I listened, he really enjoyed putting over Madcap in this way throughout the whole time that they were in their heel gimmick and then fighting him now. And also that it broke his heart to have Drew McIntyre kick out of the end of days, and he hopes that it helps Drew McIntyre propel himself to a WWE championship or something like that. So that way it means more than just Drew McIntyre kicking out of the end of days at WrestleMania. But we also see the Street Profits backstage doing the gimmick where they kind of hype the whole night, and then they say they're going to beat Jimmy and Jey Uso at the Money in the Bank tag title match. What do you make of the Street Profits doing this stuff where they just have a promo where they kind of talk about the other stuff that's going on in the show, and they really don't have any other purpose other than that? They may or may not mention what they're actually doing versus them actually cutting a legit promo and someone saying, all right, so you have anything to say about your match with the Usos coming up? And then they say something.
I mean, this could have been done at Raw. I don't even see why they needed to be. Who knows if they were even there? But I don't see why they even needed to be at SmackDown to do that. I guess you know, you want to hype it on both shows, fine, great. But
no, it's all about them being, because they did it in one of their in-ring promos where they're out there. I think it was the 24/7 one where they ended up sitting in Miz's chairs and then, you know, beating up the 24/7 people. But where they're out there just saying, "Oh, Riddle's going to take on Roman later. Who do you got?" I got the smoke, not the rope, or whatever the hell he said. And then, or I got the bro, not the row. And then, you know, and then
Rose before Rose.
Right. And then he said, you know, oh, whatever, just Happy Corbin just got beat the hell up. And then, you know, this other match has happened. This is going to be exciting. And they're kind of going back and forth about the card. And it's like they're using these two personalities that they have as vehicles to promote the show. Instead of promote their own feud.
I didn't understand it. I mean, like, we didn't have enough promotion for the Roman Riddle match yet in this show. I mean, we had a whole first segment with Riddle coming out and, you know, tugging at the heartstrings that was way more effective than anything the Street Profits could say. So I just didn't understand that, but whatever, man. It didn't really do anything for me either way, to be honest with you. And now after seeing that, to be honest with you, I think the Street Profits have zero chance. It's just what I think after seeing that promo.
Yeah, so the Riddle opened the show with a promo. He threw to a package on the screen about his story with Roman Reigns, going back to how Roman cost him the tag title match and everything since then. And he also said he was dedicating the match to Orton. So we had a lot of Randy Orton chants tonight. You know, during the Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin match, I will say that the fans were into Madcap Moss. I heard a lot of Moss chants, and I heard a lot of Corbin sucks chants, which means that Corbin's effectively pissing the crowd off. And he, you know, his mannerisms in the ring are really good as far as being a heel. You know, he stares people down from the ring and just looks like a complete asshole in there, and that's what he's supposed to do. So, you know.
Well, especially you got the big cheers for Moss when they announced him from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah,
which he is.
Moss in his hometown, of course, is something I missed there. So good point.
Yeah, and you noticed obviously that, you know, even when he was old Madcap character, always the brown and yellow, you know, which is the Minnesota Golden Gophers colors, obviously. So, you know, he always kind of honored them, and he got a big amount of applause from the crowd. But I have to be honest with you, man, after this promo, I wasn't like, oh yeah, Pat, you're so cool. Madcap, you're so cool. I was like, yeah, I kind of feel bad for Happy Corbin a little bit. Honestly, that's the way I felt. I didn't like the everyone pile on and make fun of this loser as he leaves the ring. Didn't like it. I have to be honest, man. Maybe I know that's probably not what I was supposed to feel, but I felt bad for the guy. I really, Corbin. I'm sorry.
Listen, you're not wrong for feeling that way. Everyone's entitled to feel a certain way. That's the whole point of what they're doing. They're trying to incite feelings in you, and hopefully they're the ones that make you come back and continue to watch it. And in this case, you know, it was a little heavy-handed on laying it on Corbin and making him feel like crap, when really, you know, to me, losing 3 matches in a row to someone who you had as your understudy is enough to make someone feel like crap. So they didn't need to really, seems more like a Vince thing. You know, let's do this to him. And, you know, he's the type of heel that can take that. But, you know, to me, I could have done without it as well. But, you know, they decided to use McAfee to get, what did you think of them using McAfee as a way to get the crowd into it? Did you think that was an effective way to get the crowd into it? Like, how else do you think they could have gotten him actually laughed out of the building?
I mean, everyone loves Pat. He's a huge celebrity, you know, in the sports world. And, you know, I think it was fine. But again, like, you know, look, to me, Happy became the sympathetic figure in this whole thing, not just from getting laughed out of the ring, which I referenced and you referenced before, but also, like, if the last time we saw him, he was getting his head stuck into the chair and hit with the God, I forget if he hit it with another chair with the statue, the Andre. I forget exactly
steel
what
steps, but at the same time, man, he was getting comeuppance for breaking Madcap's neck or whatever he did to it. You know what I'm saying? He sent Madcap to the hospital as well. So, and he was a dickhead to Madcap. So, I wouldn't disagree with you as far as like he's sympathetic. He was still an asshole throughout this whole process. You know, it's just you just got beat. You know, you had Madcap Moss laugh like a goofball, and then, you know, they just took their time having Happy Corbin sit there and legitimately explain to you why it's not cool for McAfee to talk so much crap on him. And then McAfee gets up there and gets everybody laughing out of the building. So I was just thinking like more of how you're going to get him else to laugh them out the building. And then, do you think this is a feud, or do you think this was just simply him doing that, like I was saying?
No, I think it's going to be a feud. I think it's going to be a feud at SummerSlam. It's a great match to have at SummerSlam. You're going to need matches, man. You have a lot of people injured. You have a lot of people gone. You have a lot of people out. You're going to need matches. And they might have said, you know, Pat, this is a really safe guy to work with. You know, Pat probably loved his WrestleMania.
I mean, he is
moment.
one of the safest wrestlers to work with, is Corbin.
Yeah.
So
it makes a lot of sense to me. You know, you're not going to throw him in there with someone reckless. You're going to throw him in there with a true veteran who is a master at their craft. That's who you're going to put in the ring with, Pat McAfee. And I understand Austin Theory maybe, you know, didn't fit that mold, but in the same respect, that was something really special for Pat at the biggest event imaginable in front of 80,000 people. But if he wants to do it again, this is the perfect guy to do it with. I just didn't like, to me, Pat came across like a dickhead tonight. And I rarely would say that. He came across like an asshole. That was just my opinion.
Well, there's other things that I didn't like about what he did tonight, but I'll get into that later. So real quick, before we go to our first break, we'll get into this quick New Day match. They take on Shanky and Jinder Mahal. Shanky's out there dancing to anything that is music or sounds like music, and Jinder Mahal does not like this. Early in the match here, we had the New Day in control, where Woods hit a springboard drop kick and then a double bulldog. Shanky gets tagged in. Shanky no-sells a drop kick and then smacks the hell out of Kofi Kingston, tossing him around like a rag doll. They really put Shanky over like a monster here. Just before Woods starts playing some obscure tune on his trombone. Didn't sound good at all, but this causes Shanky to dance, which pisses off Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal tags himself into the match and runs right into a Trouble in Paradise for the 1-2-3. So the New Day wins. What did you make of all this Shanky and Jinder Mahal dissension? Did you think this was creative? And, you know, they are putting Shanky over as somebody that's strong. So if they turn him babyface and have him as a big guy who can actually have some credible victories, do you see him going anywhere?
I'm going to say something pretty uncool, but I thought Shanky kind of looked great tonight, man. The slap that he did, which was like, I don't want to say Gunther-esque, but the sound was Gunther-esque.
It was good. It was those were nice shots. That clothesline, and then when he no-sold the drop kick, and then he just smacked the crap out of him, and then he threw him out of the corner into the middle of the ring. Right before he started dancing, all that stuff was not. You know, I wish they would have given him a little more time.
See, to me, like after seeing what I saw tonight, I was saying to myself, I like the way Shanky wrestles, to be honest with you, more than I like the way Omos wrestles. I mean, they're both big.
Omos doesn't wrestle.
Really?
Omos doesn't know how to wrestle. You can't call that wrestling.
Right. Well, you got my point. What he does in the ring. I like what Shanky does better. And to be quite honest with you, man, watching this Shanky dance, no matter how lame you might think it is, it does visually appear entertaining. Like it's something like
I don't have a problem with
my eyes off of it.
I think it's funny, and he's not supposed to be.
Funny.
He's not supposed to be Roman Reigns' next opponent. He's not supposed to be even Gunther's next opponent. He's just supposed to be out there and impressive physically and entertaining people. And if that's what's happening, you know, what he's doing now is far better than what the hell he was doing. What was he doing before? Just wearing a black t-shirt and looking like he needed to take a shower. Like I don't have any problem with him out there trying to be a goofball. You know, it's as long as he's able to throw his opponent around like he did, that's fine. It's, you know, at least it's not, you know, the Xavier Woods on the trombone stuff is kind of annoying, man. Like they could do something else to figure out a distraction. If you're going to do the trombone crap, then make it at least sound like an actual song or like actual melody makes in tune. It sounds like he doesn't know how to play the trombone, whether he does or not. I don't even know how to play the trombone. So maybe it is in key, but to me, it sounds like crap and it's stupid. So that's the only downside of this. Other than that, I can definitely see Shanky being a mid-card guy and having a nice babyface run, beating some people and be entertaining.
Yeah, man, I liked it. I got to be honest. I liked watching him dance. I thought it was funny. Definitely humorous, man. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, yeah, you're right. He's doing stuff that he, you know, what was he doing before this? This is far better. And I'm sure he'll get in a feud with Jinder at some point. And maybe if he goes babyface, you know, you get a match on SmackDown with him and Gunther or something where it's like Battle of the Giants or whatever, you know, something like that. That might be fun.
Yeah, they could do that. So right before we take a break here, we got a Viking Raiders video. I don't understand. It's like they're playing Viking Raiders promos, segments, vignettes is the word I was looking for, as if they're a new team, as if we'd never met them before. And so they're eventually making their return next week. I don't see the significance here, but do you get anything out of this?
No, and I fast forwarded right through it. Honestly, man, I could not watch how great the Viking Raiders are and how strong Vikings are, and I never considered them a real contender to anything. They're boring. No one wanted to do the chest pumping thing when they were coming out. It was this is not enjoyable to me. Watching this new Viking Raiders thing that's an old thing that they're just recycling as new. It makes no sense.
When they show the crowd doing it, it's always like the same 5 people that they found somewhere doing it, probably doing it in jest, making fun of it, but they caught it on tape, so they play it as if the crowd's actually... Nobody cares about the Viking Raiders. They don't pose any threat to anybody. I don't understand. I mean, I understand they need tag teams, so that's the positive. It adds a tag team. But we're going to take a break real quick. We'll be right back. Beyond the Mat. Remember, if you want to have an ad-free experience, join us on Patreon, Beyond the Mat Podcast. $1 tier will get you ad-free. We also have a $3, $5, and $10 tiers, which involve some merchandise and having the opportunity to come on podcast as a guest, and follow us on social media at Beyond Mat WWE. Also, we are available for email, and we will involve you in our mailbag show. Send us that email to matt@beyondthemat.com. We'll be right back.
The Beyond the Mat Podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Beyond the Mat Podcast.
All right, so we're back on Beyond the Mat for the Smackdown review. Remember, if you want to avoid the ads, just join us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. And look for us on Twitter at Beyond the Mat WWE, or send us an email, matt@beyondthemat.com. Give us a 5-star review on all podcast platforms. Leave a review if you'd like to. If not, that's okay. So, Brad, next up we had Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. Money in the Bank decision. Drew comes out, says that if he's not in this match, there's a 100% chance that he will beat somebody's ass. This after Adam Pearce is given statistics on 85% of the Money in the Bank winners win. McIntyre doesn't give a crap about analytics. So then Sheamus starts talking crap to Drew McIntyre, and Adam Pearce says, both had a chance last week. Sheamus, you're in. Sheamus gets excited, starts talking a bunch of crap to McIntyre. McIntyre hits him with the clothesline. And then Pierce says, hey, Drew, next thing I was going to say was, you're in too. And Drew McIntyre says, that's great. And gives Sheamus a Claymore anyway. So we got both of them in the match. Much like I predicted, I didn't know how we were going to get there, but they went the simple route of just having Adam Pearce say it. But we got them to interact and, Drew to beat the hell out of Sheamus here. So, we have a little feud going on within the Money in the Bank match, which I say I like that. Having different storylines going on within a bigger match is always an interesting thing if they can work it right. So what do you think of this segment?
I love Drew McIntyre as much as anyone, but it's funny when he says, like, I don't care about statistics, or we don't care about numbers. I was like saying to myself, like, I kind of care about numbers. Like, I've heard that statistic, obviously, many times over the last few weeks and throughout whatever, but, I mean, it's just, I wish Drew had just said, like, really it was inconsequential, but I wish Drew had just said, Adam, enough with this. But here's what I have to say. You're getting me in that match. Like, we don't care about numbers. Like, what are we, a bunch of morons? Like, no one cares about numbers at all? Like, no one in this whole audience? I mean, I was kind of interested in it, but regardless, yeah, I mean, it's great that they both got in. That is the best part of it, the best outcome that could have possibly have been. I'm sure, I know, Matt, you thought this, and I thought this. I thought we'd probably be leading to another match here, but we just did it and got it over with. It's done. They're in. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have any problem with anything he said. I thought it was, attempt at humor to poke fun at the, people that are all about analytics and sports and things like that. He said, I don't give a crap. I'm 100% chance I'm going to kick somebody's ass. So, that was the line he was given or that he came up with to incite some humor or whatever. That's fine. I thought just the way that they had him tell Sheamus he was in and then had the fight happen and then him tell Drew he was in. What I was waiting for was Pierce to say, but since your actions were like that, now you're out. And I'm just glad that didn't matter and that it just ended up with them both being in and, having the physical confrontation. I was definitely expecting a match or something and then another sort of 50-50 finish within one match, but that's not what happened. And honestly, they don't need to do that. And they, I think this is the right way to do it. So you got them both in the match and you got a little story between the two of them. Now, depending on who else is in the match, the story might not really matter. So, or the story might be all they have to hang their hat on because, if Lesnar ends up in this match, there isn't any chance any of them are winning. So.
Well, there's one thing that I'm sure of at Money in the Bank is that Sheamus and Drew are going to ruin it for each other. That's one thing I can guarantee you in that match, that neither of them are winning and both of them are destroying each other's chances.
Yeah, I would agree on that one. All right, so now we see Sami Zayn backstage at Roman Reigns' nice looking double door locker room with his nameplate on it, afraid to knock on the door. Braxton comes up and asks him if, the bloodline has any ill will against him. Zayn says no because he's an honorary Uce. Then he stares at Kayla a little weird and leaves awkwardly, saying he has to go to the bathroom. I thought this would be some foreshadowing for later in the night. Doesn't seem to be foreshadowing to anything applicable to tonight's episode, but could be, something down the line with him thinking he's an honorary Uce and then not being an honorary Uce and him eventually turning face. Obviously, him turning face isn't happening anytime right away because he's facing Nakamura next week for the Money in the Bank qualifier. I see him losing that match, though, and then progressing in whatever storyline that he's in with the Usos, Usos and the Bloodline together. But what do you see as any kind of significance for the Sami Zayn segment?
Oh, I see no significance to it. I'm always of the belief that like everything that in WWE usually has a meaning or purpose behind it. Like 85% of the things that are said at least within the major storylines, have some sort of meaning or purpose behind it. This seemed to have absolutely none. And It was surprising that they even did it. I mean, I don't even know what the point of doing it was. It was just a complete waste of time.
I think that Zayn is just an opponent for Nakamura to qualify for the Money in the Bank match. They want Nakamura in it. And I think that Zayn thinking that he's part of a bloodline is going to lead to him having the means to turn babyface and feud with one of the Usos, or feud maybe even as a partner with somebody else against them as a tag team, or, dare I say, him feud with Roman Reigns at some point. But I definitely see him making a face turn and them using the bloodline as the foil to do that, which is a good, if there's a couple excellent foils for people to have babyface support on, and the bloodline's one of them. They use the Miz for it, they use Rollins for it. So there's just certain things that do it well. Corbin is another example in the mid card. So I just think that that's going to happen with Zayn here eventually. And they were trying to just work something in to add a small little blurb chapter to his story with them. Obviously had no significance on anything that was relevant now, but I think it will have something down the line, but we'll just have to see. But we can move on. We got a Money in the Bank qualifier for the women, Shayna Baszler and Raquel. Lacey Evans ringside for commentary. Raquel overpowered early in this one. Baszler gained control on the apron, locking Raquel's leg in the rope, and continued to target that leg throughout the match. We then saw Shotzi and Aaliyah backstage, who will be in a qualifying match together next week. Raquel fought back and hit a shoulder block for a 2 count. Baszler then got back in control with a chop block and a nasty running knee to the face for 2. But Raquel inevitably fought out of a Karafuda clutch by backing Baszler into the corner when Baszler popped out, ran right into Raquel's finisher, and got the 1-2-3 to qualify for the Money in the Bank. What do you think of the match? What do you think of Raquel being in the Money in the Bank? While you're at it, what did you think of Lacey Evans on commentary?
I like Raquel. I had no problem with Lacey being there. I didn't think she really had too much to do. I mean, Pat thanked her for her, sort of inspirational story and saying some tough things, and that was kind of cool to hear. I didn't have any, problem with Raquel winning. I really didn't think Raquel wouldn't win. I think this is a great thing for Raquel to be in a match like this. If you're going to have her as an up-and-coming star, then why not get her in that situation? I'm just surprised, honestly, that Shayna Baszler wouldn't be someone that would make this match, the Money in the Bank match. I would think that she would be someone in it, but, the plan could have been for Shayna Baszler to make Money in the Bank. And Shotzi just maybe last week just impressed them a lot with her vocal skills and what she could do on the mic. And Shotzi might be that person replacing Shayna, interestingly enough, on the heel side.
Yeah, you never know, man. Things could change. I mean, I think Shotzi will definitely defeat Aaliyah and will qualify for the match, and it'll elevate her. I think having Raquel in the match elevates her. And, it didn't make sense here for Baszler to win because, like I said, something's going to happen here with Natalya, and going to lead to a Baszler feud with Ronda. If not now, eventually. Maybe I'm completely off with that. Maybe it goes to somebody else, but I think that Baszler is going to somehow get a title shot with Ronda anyway.
Well, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, so I just felt like going into the match, okay, Raquel's going to win this one. Baszler's going to get something through Natalya by interfering or whatever. I don't know what the hell is going to happen, but it just makes sense. The Natalya thing is just a placeholder holding pattern feud with a generic heel that can help Ronda continue to defend that title. At least the women are defending their titles. So
yeah, and I feel like we did just, if we're going to have a Shayna Baszler feud, we just kind of weakened Shayna a little bit with a loss to Raquel. So I whatever, maybe it's just inconsequential and it won't matter at the end of the day, but she's definitely not looking the strongest if she's the next opponent for Ronda after this Money in the Bank match in a few weeks.
No, she needs to be built up, and I would like to see her built up by beating several people. Now, the way they like to build people up is say, okay, champions contender match, and then you beat the champion, and then that makes you built up enough to face the champion, and it just makes no sense whatsoever as far as, you know, the alternative of beating 5 people and then saying, okay, I deserve a shot at the champion. But that's why they do the champion contenders matches, because they don't have the depth or the time to put somebody in a, you know, mow through everybody situation and then get to the number 1 contender slot. You know, it'd be a lot better if they did that, had it the way they used to do it, and at least like somewhat followed having a number 1 contender. But it is what it is. You know, we have now in the women's side of it, Evans, Raquel, and then we
Evans,
have
Raquel, Alexa,
Liv Morgan, and
and
Alexa Bliss.
Yep, and Becky or Asuka next.
Right. I think there's a way both of them are going to make it somehow. I don't know how, but I think Becky's going to lose, and then she's going to do something that makes Adam Pearce give her another chance. She's going to get into the match, and she's going to win. I saw Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss on the Raw talk show, you know, talking about, oh, yeah, it was nice to team together and blah, 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 but I'm going to be Miss Money in the Bank for the second time, says Alexa Bliss. And then Liv was like, oh, well, that would be cool, but I'm going to be Miss Money in the Bank for the first time. It's my time. And blah, blah. Neither one of them is winning it. You know, we have 2 babyface champions. We're not going to get a babyface Money in the Bank winner. We're going to get a heel Money in the Bank winner. So, yeah, you could see Shotzi as a surprise winner, as a dark horse, but Lacey Evans could do it too, and they could eventually do her heel turn like they initially were planning. But, you know, that's sort of, Lacey Evans is sort of my backup pick to Becky Lynch if Becky Lynch doesn't make it.
Hey, dude, but we could get, you know, a Rhea Ripley championship. Let's not forget that. I mean, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
I don't think it is either.
If that's the case,
I think Bianca's been a terrible champion as far as the way they present her. She doesn't even say anything on commentary. Lacey Evans said more on commentary tonight in that short match than Belair has on commentary 6 times, or however many times she's been there.
Just sits there. Even when Rhea Ripley appeared on the screen the other day, which we talked about at Raw, Bianca was just in the ring like, oh, shucks. Oh, well, I guess she's going to take my title. All right.
Yeah, she hasn't really done much that has made her look very strong at all.
Bianca already had a championship opportunity last week, and she crashed and burned.
Yeah, Bianca could crash and burn, you know. You never know. But I do think that, you know, it's not out of the realm of possibility for there to be Rhea Ripley heel champion, then we get a baby face Money in the Bank winner. You never know. But we're supposed to get Max Dupree with his first male model, and they introduce him, and they have the lights out and the spotlight down, and then they show him backstage with Pierce. He argues about the lighting, says it's not good enough for him, and we get no first male model. What did you think of this?
How? I mean, how do we not get any sort of segment here? It makes no sense. I really don't understand it. The lighting wasn't right. I mean, I get it. You know, Max Dupree's in control. He's in control of the situation. But, you know, why did this segment not happen? Like, let's just put it off another week rather than disappointing.
I guess to me, like, the story here is Max Dupree super high maintenance with everything. He's going to continue to tease it and tease it and tease it and make it difficult and difficult and difficult on Adam Pearce, and his relationship with Adam Pearce is going to be a difficult one for Pearce to handle. I don't know if at the end of the day they just didn't have the time for it. You know, I don't see how that could be possible given the amount of time that was given to the main event match. You know, they can always trim that by a minute or two, and, you know, trim the Lesnar segment by a minute or two, and they always leave a couple minutes on the end of SmackDown anyway, so that there's no reason for time really to cut this one. I think it's just more a way to make people kind of annoyed at this guy and make him, you know, shown as an antagonist and not shown as a more babyface sort of got almost like a sleaze bag. Like, the lighting's not good enough for you. Are you kidding me? You just had the ring announcer announce that you were coming out, and you won't come out because you're complaining the lighting's not good enough for you, and you're on Adam Pearce's face about it. And so I think that, it's all just supposed to illustrate that he's a sleaze bag. And, it was kind of annoying that, I'm sitting here thinking I missed something because, I went to get a drink and I came down, and then they moved on to the Gunther promo, and no male model got introduced. I was waiting for Mansoor or T-Bar or Mace or whatever, and nothing happened. Who do you think it will be when they eventually get to somebody?
I think it might be Mace, to be honest with you. I know he's gone through a major body transformation and all this stuff, and that mask thing ain't working anyway. So he's actually a pretty decent. I think he's like a 6'4" or 6'5", tall, good shape type of guy. So it might be him, but it could be like someone like a Logan Paul type. It could be someone as significant as that. It could be. I mean, he did say they're leaving Instagram to come and do this, so it could be some like major internet celebrity that we're not thinking of type, who's pretty good looking, like someone like that. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea, man. But so we had the Gunther promo next. Kaiser took over the microphone and basically said that the IC title will never be held by an American again, and that it will be restored to prestige by Gunther. Said it originated in South Africa, was won by Canadians, Italians, all other countrymen. And he said Ricochet disgraced it. And then Gunther took the mic and said he's the new Intercontinental Champion. This eventually led to the fact that we're going to get a rematch next week between Ricochet and Gunther. But what do you think of the promo? How do you think Kaiser came off? And what do you think of them, having the rematch next week? And how do you see that going? You think Gunther's just going to beat him even more decisively? You think Ricochet could win it back and they could go on a little hot potato with the IC title here? Or do you think that, Gunther's going to hang on to it and then restore it to prestige, as Kaiser says?
Well, I know you were thinking like, okay, the next step if Ricochet wants his title back is, hey, you don't just get a shot with me, Gunther. You have to go through Ludwig first. You have to prove that you're even worthy of it. I did like the heat that they bring, like, the anti-American stuff where it's like no American is good enough. This country has disgraced this belt. Ricochet disgraced the belt. I just don't understand why. I don't know, another championship shot. Ricochet just earned a rematch, I guess. Okay. But just funny coming on the heels of Riddle never gets a rematch ever under any circumstances. But, Ricochet just gets on the next week, no problem. And Ricochet didn't even need to be there to demand it in any way, which I found interesting. But Ludwig was good. Ludwig was very, very good.
He slipped up in the beginning, I think. If I watched it back, I would be able to tell you exactly where. I didn't take notes on exactly what he said, but he slipped up in the beginning of what he said. But then he settled in and it delivered it pretty well, I thought, pretty convincingly. But go ahead.
But I don't love like the idea of this guy has to speak for him. Like I want Gunther to be able to speak, and I want Ludwig to be, maybe a mouthpiece at times, but more of like a henchman for him and doing some dirty work type rather than the guy that speaks for him. Because Gunther can, vocalize his thoughts very well if given the opportunity. I've seen him do it plenty of times on NXT and different things. So, to act like he's some mute that really needs like a person to talk for him, who, by the way, doesn't have the greatest communication skills in his own right, to me, I don't love, but I do like what Ludwig Kaiser does in the same respect.
Yeah, I do think that we'll get there with Gunther on the mic and with Ludwig in the ring. And then, we'll get there with it. That's just the presentation they're going for to start out with, is the big guy with the mouthpiece. Is that sort of the classic presentation? We're going to take one more break and then get into the main event with Riddle and Roman Reigns and the return of a top guy when we get back on Beyond the Mat.
The Beyond the Mat Podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Beyond the Mat Podcast.
All right, so we're back here on Beyond the Mat. Finally, we get to our main event. It was Roman Reigns versus Riddle for the unified, undisputed Universal WWE Heavyweight Championship, or however you want to phrase it, because it's been phrased about every which way it possibly could be since WrestleMania, where Roman Reigns defeated Brock Lesnar for it. So we have Riddle here defending, facing Roman Reigns, who is defending for the first time since WrestleMania on Smackdown. Originally, this match was probably going to be on Money in the Bank, but it was pulled when Money in the Bank was moved to the MGM Grand Garden instead of Allegiant Stadium. So going into this match, Riddle's dedicating it to Orton. Very emotional in the beginning with this promo. Really had the crowd behind him, entered into a big babyface reaction. Everybody's chanting, bro. Roman got his normal star power, reaction, but it wasn't a lot of people loving him. There was a lot of people giving him the thumbs down and the boos and things like that. So then we get into the match. Riddle attacks early with a flurry of strikes, but he is then upended by Reigns with an uppercut, and Roman takes control. Riddle then reverses a corner whip, hits a nice fisherman suplex, and Reigns heads ringside, eats a knee and a floating bro, and we hit a commercial break. So Riddle starts the match off here hot and hits some nice babyface offense. We get back from the break. Reigns is in control, mounts some punches and pummels Riddle on the ground, then hits a drive-by drop kick from the ringside area, gets in the ring and covers him, gets a 2 count. Riddle then nails a falling kick, takes control, hits 2 elbows and a fisherman suplex, goes for the Broton, but Reigns gets his knees up. Then he goes up top eventually and hits a floating bro, gets a near fall out of that. Roman then hits an Iranagi out of nowhere. Pat McAfee's calling it a rock bottom. It's not. It's an Iranagi. 2.5 out of that one does Reigns get. Riddle then is at the ringside area. Roman goes for goes for the Orton backdrop on Riddle and gets it. Nails him on the announce table with it as we go to a commercial with Roman talking trash into the camera about Randy Orton and when he's going to come back. Reigns is in control after the break. He goes for a Superman punch, but Riddle hits a knee, then a snap body slam, Randy Orton style. Goes for a draping DDT, but Reigns escapes the ring. Then he eats a baseball slide by Riddle, and Riddle hits the Orton backdrop on the announcer's table himself. Then we have Roman Reigns ram Riddle's head into the ring post, but Riddle rams him back into the table, gets back in, hits the draping DDT, vipers up, goes for the RKO, gets blocked, runs right into a choke slam, then gets hit square in the mouth with a Superman punch. Reigns covers him up. It gets 2.9 seconds, very close, nearest fall. This is awesome chance start to break out. Then we have Roman Reigns do the hoo-ah, go for the spear, runs right into an RKO out of nowhere. Roman Reigns kicks out after a real close near fall. I felt like the ref was late to get to the count there. And then we have another top rope floating blow hit by Riddle. But he goes for an RKO, gets blocked, goes for a springboard move, does Riddle, and runs right into a spear by Roman, who gets the clean 1, 2, 3 for the win. After the match, Roman gets in the ring. He says that he mowed down everybody pretty much. There's nobody left. We are shown Riddle ringside looking completely distraught after the clean loss. Looks like he's got nowhere to go, is sort of the look in his eyes. And then Brock Lesnar's music hits. He comes out. F5's Roman, F5's Jimmy, F5's Jay. Everybody gets out of the way. So we have a Brock Lesnar return, a good match for Riddle, good showing, but in my opinion, a clean loss that makes Riddle, it defines down Riddle, and in an opportunity where they could have defined him up. And it's a classic example of where they can just squash somebody, and they did it by him losing clean and Brock Lesnar coming out and stealing the entire freaking night. This night will not be remembered for Riddle's wonderful match with Roman Reigns and almost winning and getting a disqualification win and not winning the title, or almost winning and losing because Paul Heyman got involved, or the Usos got involved. The whole freaking bloodline was down there. They could have gotten them involved in the match and had him get decimated by Brock Lesnar. I don't care. They didn't have to have Riddle lose clean here. It made him look bad. And where is he going to go next? I understand the stipulation that they probably figured out this Brock Lesnar stuff last weekend, probably Saturday or Sunday, even Monday, and then inserted Paul Heyman, had that promo that had the stipulation about Roman Reigns not being able to be challenged by Riddle as long as he's the unified champion, which, by the way, I keep saying he can still challenge for one of the titles, and maybe he will, maybe he won't. I still think they have unfinished business, but I just don't see why they had to have the clean win anyway. I guess it's to continue, obviously, Roman Reigns' dominance, but for me, obviously, you can hear the emotion in my voice. They pulled at my emotions to the point where it made me sad to see Roman Reigns win. It made me sad to see Riddle lose. And I know that's what they were going for, but at the same time, it pisses me off. I don't like being sad. I don't like being upset about things. And Brock Lesnar coming out, I understand, is an exciting thing on top of it, but it also basically demonstrates, Riddle can have this great story with Roman Reigns in a great match, and then it doesn't matter because he's going to lose clean, and Brock Lesnar is going to come out and be right where he left off at the top. And that's what, felt bad about the whole thing to me. Although it is, we knew Brock Lesnar was coming back at some point in the summer, and it is exciting to see a return, especially when it's a surprise. I know I didn't see this coming from a mile away. Every other return, was pretty much telegraphed. This one was completely kept under wraps, so I can give that credit. But other than that, the story behind it kind of sucks. I mean, it was good. If they're pulling at emotions, it's a good story. But for me, it sucks that Riddle had to lose that way, and that it doesn't seem like he has any direction after this, at least in the immediate future.
Matt, you're right on. I mean, first of all, on my end, why are we mentioning Randy throughout? I know I said this before, but why throughout the entire evening are we mentioning him and getting chants going for him and looking for chants for him if he's not the person that's coming out at the end? Why are we doing that? Why would the story not be, hey, Riddle, I wish I had someone to back me up, bro. I wish I had Randy here, but if I don't have Randy here, who am I going to have? You got all these guys. You got the Usos. You got Paul Heyman. I'm here by myself. That would have been cool to bring Brock Lesnar out. You know what I mean? I don't understand. I'm not saying they should be a team. I'm just saying it should have had some logical tie-in with Riddle. And like you said, what we've done now is now Riddle's just out of the picture, gone, away, lost clean, no interference, nothing, no ability to stake a claim to anything. And now what does he do? He wrestles Veer Mahan? What does he do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they give him some time off here because he's probably got time off to take at some point, and they can give it to him knowing that Randy's going to be out for a while. He could get involved in the Money in the Bank. Who knows? I mean, between him and Lesnar, between the two of them, if you had to pick one or the other, who could you see being in the Money in the Bank match?
I think Riddle's going to be in it just because he's such a huge star now, man. He's been opening and closing every Raw and every SmackDown for the last month, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's crazy to see in it, but it's also a gauge to them, WWE, to have, Riddle get these huge pops all night long, every night. He got it to open the show. He got it to come out for his match. He had, this is awesome chances, holy shit chants going on, Riddle chants, bro chants, Randy chants, everything you could ask for from the crowd as far as support. This was an absolute treat for the Minnesota crowd tonight. And then, so, what was your original question?
My original question is, if we're mentioning Randy throughout the entire night, why are we doing this? If we're mentioning a guy all night long, and it wasn't just organic with the crowd, bro. It was everyone in the entire, the announcers, Roman, Paul Heyman, Riddle 100. Why are we centering a show and a move set around a guy who's not there if he's not the guy who's going to come back right now? Why are we doing this?
I'm sorry. Where I was going with it was WWE can gauge all those pops by Riddle versus the pop they got for the return of Lesnar, and what was bigger? When you were watching the show, what did you feel like generated a bigger pop? Lesnar's music hitting, or anything that Riddle did?
That's a really Riddle in the ring was definitely getting a lot of stuff brewing, with the crowd and the excitement and the energy. He's so good, but Brock walking in was pretty damn exciting. And you can't deny that either. That it was both, but they were too disconnected. I want you to talk about that, Matt. Why couldn't it be connected? Riddle, Brock, why? It's just two different things now.
Well, it feels like that they got into a situation where they were planning a storyline where it'd be Riddle. Riddle would probably lose, and then it would move on to Orton. And then my assumption was Drew McIntyre would win Money in the Bank and would cash in for the UK show. Now, Orton's not around. They need somebody for SummerSlam. Lesnar was going to come back this summer anyway. And so without that continuation of Orton in the feud, they gave Riddle the push to the top. He's not going to stay there for now, but he'll be back up at the top if they're smart, and he'll have another.
Let's face it, Matt.
What'd you say?
They didn't give Riddle the push to the top. Riddle made himself likable and relatable, and so he feels like someone They say that about TV broadcasters, right? They say it feels like someone someone you have dinner with every night. Dan Rather on the news at night. It feels like someone that's part of your family. Riddle has come to make himself feel like that, and as goofy as he is, and like as almost out of it in outer space as he has an incredible way of like making you feel like you love him and him personally, like, which a lot of wrestlers just can't do. They just can't do that, man. So like what he has done has been so special, and they need to recognize that, and you can't just bury the guy. I feel like this was a burial of him tonight.
Yeah, it did feel pretty bad for him. The thing overall to me is that you have Brock Lesnar under the contract that he's under. He had matches left. He had time left. He was going to come back this summer. Something was going to happen to him. You got Reigns in the contract he's in. You need him to have a credible opponent to take one of those titles from him. Who better than the person who gave him one of them? And at the same time, I agree with you. I don't like just crushing a star that you built. But when a year from now he could be facing somebody completely different who's the champion. He could face Brock Lesnar when he becomes champion. It's a shame for him to make himself big as he was, and then for him to get over as well as he did, and then for him to lose. But at the same time, I think if the overall goal was to keep Roman Reigns as the champion for as long as he was going to be, and this match was for the unified title, Riddle couldn't win it. Now, they could have booked it better. We've said that. They could have booked it with a DQ or a schmozz finish to protect Riddle. But I think the reason they didn't do that is because they didn't have the Orton connection to continue with. And, you know, they gotten a lot. It gets to the, you know, they gave us some Riddle. They got us to love him. We got disappointed. And now we're going to want it so bad to come back. And when it does come back, whoever it is against, it's going to be that much better. But I think that, you know, given the fact that they needed to get Lesnar back in and they needed to get a credible opponent for Reigns, it makes sense, you know, on their end, do it that way. It's just a shame as a fan to see it happen that way for Riddle and know that. And you know, if you're a fan of anybody, you know that the next person to beat Roman Reigns is going to be Brock Lesnar. It has to be.
Yeah, but let me ask you a hypothetical. Like, if you're a Riddle fan, which I would say 95% of WWE fans are. So if you're a Riddle fan, like, are you excited that, oh, wow, he beat Bobby Lashley and took the title? Like, yeah, you'll be excited about it, but, like, he now has elevated himself to a point that he needs to beat a Brock Lesnar, a Roman, someone at that level for that championship to really be like, he's a top tier guy. I'm not saying Bobby Lashley's not, you know, but a great wrestler and a great performer and all those things. But I just feel like you took him out of a picture that you didn't need to take him out of. And yes, if the plan was like you just said, Orton, and the whole plan was centered around Orton would be the next opponent, then why has that writing not changed? I mean, we hear about creative ripping up scripts all the time and starting new and starting from scratch. Why is that all thrown into the picture all night long on a huge episode like this? I'll bet you anything, by the way, this got the biggest ratings of the entire calendar year so far, this episode tonight. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. And
that's without Lesnar being advertised. You know, Lesnar returning was a surprise, and maybe they felt like they just needed that. They got Cena returning to Raw. They got Lesnar on Smackdown. You know, they have some star power there that they might not feel like they've had. Losing Rhodes, losing Orton. You know, who the hell knows what's going on with Riddle? So I don't know. I get it. I'm as disappointed as anybody else is for Riddle. I'm a bigger fan of. I've been talking about Riddle as a top guy for longer than anybody I know, and so, you know, it's just one of those things where we got shown what he could be like as a top guy, and we'll get shown that again as long as everything works out the way it should. And that doesn't mean that if he beats Bobby Lashley or he beats Seth Rollins or Kevin, whoever the hell the champion is, it doesn't mean that throughout his reign he can't beat a Brock Lesnar or a Roman or whoever that makes him, you know, look stronger. But I do, you know, the emotion that they drew out of that match, the excitement that they got with him hitting all the floating bros and RKO out of nowhere, and the near fall that was like 2.99 seconds. It all makes you feel like, oh my God, this guy that's so lovable is about to beat Roman Reigns, and that's what they wanted you to feel. But at the end of the day, they wanted to keep it on Roman Reigns. So,
well, look, man, I'm excited that Brock's back. I really am. I'm definitely excited. Right before Brock, this segment, you know, they had a Cena's back commercial, which was interesting. So you made a great point when you said, you know, you got Cena coming back and you got Brock coming back now. So, you know, maybe there was a connection behind when they chose to air that. But regardless, man, I just, again, I think Riddle's got to find his way back into this picture. And I don't know if you can afford right now in the state that they're in to have Riddle. Oh, yeah, he's taking some time off, too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we all have businesses and companies, and you can't have that many people down and out at the same time. You have to stagger vacations. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you can afford to have him out, because he, again, opens and closes every show because he's that big of a star, and you are without so many people on the women's and men's side.
Well, you better hop out of the way, Skipper, because I'm getting this carrot tonight.
Yeah. Riddle, no, he definitely can't take time off, considering the fact that they got all these other guys out. I think he's a Money in the Bank guy. I don't think that there's any reason for Brock Lesnar to be in the Money in the Bank. It would be an Elimination Chamber all over again. Be one of those Royal Rumbles where he just runs through everybody all over again. Why decimate everything that you have and ruin? I mean, I understand you can have these different storylines in the match itself, and you can have Drew and Sheamus beating each other up, and but at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar is going to overpower everybody and win. So, you know, however they choose to tell that story could be interesting, but he's won Money in the Bank before. He doesn't need to cash in to win it. So I'm interested to see how they would, if not Money in the Bank, how they will get him a title shot, and how it will go, and if he will get it, and then if that will lead to us, even though he's a part-time guy too, if that will lead to us finally getting, you know, the title on somebody who's on TV all the time.
You know, we great point. I mean, we have, you know, Seth Rollins. I think he was an early favorite, not just because he was the first one entered in the match. Just he's the person that I thought was going to win Money in the Bank. Now, we saw what happened at, you know, day one, where supposedly Seth was going to win the WWE Championship. Brock Lesnar gets inserted in the match because Roman gets COVID. Brock takes that away from him. It would be just very interesting if once again Brock gets inserted into this. It was supposed to be Seth, but now it's Brock. You know, who it just seems like Seth really just continuously gets screwed in every situation. And you know, he's been a great employee for WWE, and Riddle has been too, man. I mean, you think about Riddle, he's not only opening and closing every SmackDown show and Raw show, but he is the highlight of every house show now too. You don't have Cody doing them. You don't have Roman doing them. You certainly don't have Brock doing them. You know, who's the big star of the house shows? It's Becky, and it's you know, it's Riddle, and it's funny how, you know, just Seth just keeps getting screwed over in these situations, and you know, I just, the only path to retribution that I see is having Brock, if you're going to put him in the Money in the Bank match, along with Riddle, and somehow having Riddle win that match and getting that briefcase. I think that's the only path to retribution if you're looking to revive Riddle at this point. If that's not what you're looking to do, then you don't have to do it. But I can, you know, in a ladder match, you can protect people very easily. Even someone like Brock, you know, he gets, you know, like you said before, he gets hit with a ladder in the low blow or something, and he's kind of, you know, down and out, or, you know, maybe, you know, Sami Zayn, thinking he's helping the bloodline, pins Brock down or does something dirty to him to stop him from getting to that ladder. You know, something like that. Maybe Sami Zayn does make the Money in the Bank match, and he's there as a henchman to stop Brock somehow. As unrealistic as it sounds, you know, with some weapons and foreign objects, it might be possible.
No, you're right. You're on the right. That's actually a good idea. He could, you know, Zayn could beat Nakamura to make the Money in the Bank, to, you know, be in there. Paul Heyman could be telling him, you know, make sure that, you know, this person doesn't win, or beat the hell out of this guy, because, you know, we want,
get your marching orders.
And then Riddle could be in the match, win the briefcase, get a match at SummerSlam, still lose, but it'd be another match that's, you know, he has a good showing in, and, you know, maintains his definition at the, because he got defined down tonight. That's WWE has the ability to build somebody up and define them down in a second. And he got defined down the second he was speared, pinned, and Brock Lesnar's music hit. Those completely defined him down. So the way you define him back up is he wins Money in the Bank, he gets another title shot, and then loses in a different way. And then still you have McIntyre as the person who beats him in the UK for one of the championships. That's something I can see happening.
Or how about you have Brock beat down Roman at some point so badly, maybe not even in a match that he's involved in with Roman, but where Riddle has the ability to come in and just cash in. I know it's not the typical babyface move, but if you're going to have Riddle have the briefcase, maybe this Brock thing is a little bit of a foreshadowing to something else if they're going to build Riddle back up. I'm talking about this because I want to see it happen so badly.
Right, I know. We don't want to see Brock come in here and just mow through everybody to be Brock Lesnar on top again, and every single guy on the top that has built themselves up and who we've built a following to an investment in. We don't want to see them all just get smashed by Brock Lesnar again. Maybe Brock Lesnar can put some people over. You have Riddle winning a Money in the Bank match that involves Brock Lesnar that puts Riddle over big time. And then Riddle gets a title shot. And if, maybe if he does what you're saying, then Brock puts Riddle over and gets him a championship. So those things that you're saying, the idea behind it is a good idea, to have Brock Lesnar not as the one who's kicking Roman's ass in a match, but the one who's fucking things up for Roman and putting over other talents in the process, because they have Riddle there ready to be made. So
I don't think Nakamura wins against Sami Zayn. I think it's the opposite way, and I think Sami Zayn again gets marching orders from the bloodline that here's what you have to do. You have to take out Riddle. You have to take out Brock. We're going to give you some foreign objects, some weapons, whatever. And these are your marching orders. You're not supposed to win Money in the Bank. You're supposed to be there to do our dirty work, to make sure that no one can cash in on our champion. You want to be an Uso? This is what you got to do. I think it makes a lot of sense. Maybe that is, a part of, where this whole thing has been leading, with Sammy and wanting to be a member of this.
Yeah, there's definitely a meaning behind why he's still involved with the bloodline. There's a reason why they show that to us. It's either going to be something like that, marching orders for the Money in the Bank. He ends up beating Nakamura, which I can completely see. Nakamura is a great guy. I like him as much as the next guy, but he's not really too hot right now. Now, he's another guy who, has this weird sort of relationship with the bloodline, which I guess maybe the honorary Uso that he's fighting, maybe that's why. But so we think he's not going to be in the Money in the Bank. Then we have Zayn in there doing that stuff. I think that makes sense. But we had to see how Lesnar gets in. Maybe he has a qualifying match against somebody like Rey Mysterio, or maybe they put him in there against Veer. Well, it looks like he's going to be on Smackdown, so it wouldn't be Veer or Mysterio. But who the hell would he have a qualifying match with on Smackdown?
Ooh, that's a really interesting one. That's really interesting, man. I'd say, maybe on Raw you could set him up in a match with Bobby Lashley or something, which would be really, really big time match on free TV. But he's obviously involved with Austin Theory right now, Bobby. So, that probably won't be the way it goes. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe he just declares that he's in, like he did with Elimination Chamber. He just said he was in, and he was in.
I guess we'll see what happens, man. But that's pretty much all I got on this episode of SmackDown tonight. You got anything else before we let everybody go?
It was a great episode, man. Just a little disappointing and also exciting.
Yeah, it had all the emotions there. I guess that's what you're looking for, though, in the show. Remember to follow us on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE. Available on all podcast platforms. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave a review if you'd like to. And you can send an email, matt@beyondthematt.com. And also, don't forget about our Patreon. $1 is the lowest tier to remove the ads and enjoy ad-free content as well as bonus content.
I think I'm going to go to the nearest nudie bar and and have a drink.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Mat. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a show.